Tonight on the Fanatic Forum, my junior Fanatic and I will unearth what's in the 50-cent box. That's right, we hit up a 50-cent sidewalk sale, and we're going to reveal what we got for you, plus new comics, and we'll talk a little bit of streaming shows. But first, this. Happy Friday and welcome to the Fanatic Forum. I am your Fanatic and host, George Bueller. Hope everybody's had a good week so far because we got a good show for you today. All right, first off, of course, we're going to be talking about new comic books. My junior Fanatic and I will be discussing what we found at a 50-cent sidewalk sale over at the Great Escape in Louisville. So that's going to be fun. And, a little bit of streaming talk and whatnot. So, but first, of course, I want to remind everybody that if you haven't already, please like and share on Facebook. Like and subscribe on YouTube. Tell your friends, tell your neighbors, tell somebody you even don't like. We want to have everybody join the party here. And of course, if you want to listen to me via a podcast or whatever else, as opposed to just watching, you could do that now on Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, basically anywhere you find podcasts. Fanatic Forum is on there. And of course, all the other back of the cereal box, my other friends on here. So check them all out. I highly recommend all of our shows because, hey, we're all great. So, all right. Now I want to bring on my junior Fanatic, my brother from another mother, Mr. Seth Moore. Come on down, sir.
Woo! I'm back. It's time. Yeah, I'm still getting used to this whole thing. Trying to get lined up and everything.
But I'm here. I kind of find myself getting in the wrong start process. I think, oh wait, I'm in the wrong.
Yeah. You watch it on YouTube or whatever. People just make it seem so easy, and suddenly I'm just all of a sudden paranoid about how much headspace do I have or whatever. But
I mean, we're used to during the show standing next to each other in person. So
Yeah, that is true. Like we used to do this in a real studio, together, standing with marks and cues, and the cameraman would have to step or guide me to not step out of frame or whatever.
But we're doing this guerrilla style
now. Yeah.
We can do it from home.
Oh yeah, much more comfortable. I don't even have to wear pants.
I was going to say the exact same thing, even though I am wearing shorts just for the benefit of our viewers here.
I am too, but The option's there. It's freeing just to know that you could if you wanted to.
If it helps, I'm not wearing any shoes. I'm
right,
barefoot.
Yeah.
So.
There you go.
There you go. All right.
Yeah.
How you doing, sir?
I'm doing fantastic. It's Friday, ready for the weekend. Other than the heat around here, life is pretty good. But
dude, I know. I was I think I lost 10 pounds of sweat yesterday working in the comic shop. And there was air conditioning in there, but I was hauling books around, man.
Yeah, there just gets to a point when the humidity's so high that it doesn't do anything. But or air conditioning doesn't really help. But anyway, we're not here to talk about the weather.
Well, I know. Well, if you've been in this area, the Kentuckiana area, the Ohio Valley, y'all know. It's been 100 degrees.
Right? Yeah.
But summer has arrived, folks.
Yeah.
But really, I'm not complaining. I like the heat, so okay, sweating is uncomfortable, and I got to shower 3 times a day. But you know what?
Right.
I can wear shorts, and people don't stare at me strangely when I'm out in public wearing shorts because it's weather appropriate to do so.
Exactly. And what was nice though, even though it's hot now, when it wasn't as hot last Saturday, whenever we went to the sidewalk sale, that was a good day.
That was a good day. Yeah. See, that was a great day to buy comics. So, but before we get into the sidewalk sale, I do have some new books actually this week to share with the audience and whatnot. But first off, got to say hello to some of our comments we got on here. Mr. John Pica. Hello, sir. the host of the
Hello.
Cereal Box podcast and our fearless leader on the Cereal Box Network there. So good to see you, sir. Oh, hang on. We got some wrestling stuff to talk about real quick here.
Oh man,
Sasha
this show might have just the show might have just changed topics completely now because we will
Yeah. So I've been at work all day. So I knew like yesterday the rumors about Sasha Banks being released. Not a big shock there. I'm surprised Naomi hasn't got released yet, but I have a feeling I got a feeling she's being protected a little bit by her husband, who happens to be the relation to the world champion right now. So got a feeling there's a little bit of that.
Has there been any official word about Sasha? Because I'm reading a lot of scuttlebutt online, but nothing really from WWE themselves.
Well, I have not seen anything official from WWE, but from a lot of the other reputable sources, I have seen it. So but the Vince stepping down, that is new. So did that just happen today?
Okay, so from my understanding, it happened. Vince stepped down. It was either late yesterday or early today. But Vince stepped down. Stephanie is filling in his CEO role. Now, this is just for CEO. Vince is still going to be part of creative, and he's actually going to address things in character tonight on SmackDown at 8, which is boggling.
Yeah, I thought he's going to be on SmackDown tonight, which I was like, okay. So.
Yeah, it's. I mean, from what I understand, the whole gist of it is that there was some hush money paid to a paralegal to cover up an affair, and
an alleged affair, and this was like a long time ago or something. Right. It wasn't even that. It was quite a while ago, apparently.
Yeah, 2019, from what I was reading. Somehow John Laurinaitis is involved in it, or he's been named with it. Then it's come out that Vince and Linda have been married legally, but not lived together for a decade or something like that. And it's there's a lot of tea being spilled. Yeah.
Well, the thing too is that this board investigation, this WWE board investigation that is basically they're investigating Vince right now because of this alleged hush money. But I think the reason why Laurinaitis got named because there have been some other cases of other kind of payoffs that they're not the reasons necessarily are not clear just yet.
Yeah,
and so that's what Laurinaitis was involved in as well too. Because I mean, he's head of talent relations right now. He's Vince's number 2. So there's a whole lot of shaking going on in the old Dubba Dubba right now.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see how this all plays out. I'm very curious to see what Vince is going to say tonight too. But
and that's the thing is, will it actually? I mean, because WWE loves using reality and creative. I mean, Jerry Lawler almost died on live television with a heart attack, and then when he came back, they used the heart attack for a creative story again.
Right? Yeah.
Really. That they basically pulled a Von Erich stunt on us after people stopped caring about the Von Erichs, trying to get us to care again.
Yeah.
It's like that point where a couple of the boys had already passed away, and so they tried to pull a Fritz having a heart attack thing to get sympathy, and he didn't have a heart attack, and the fans knew this, and they turned. It's like, ooh, yeah. So this is kind of very reminiscent of all that. So
but it definitely makes wrestling interesting.
Ooh, yeah. So I might start watching WWE again just to see what's going on. So and just to break things up here, Marianne saying hello. Good to see you, Marianne.
Oh, Marianne.
Cool. And friend of mine as well. So all right. So I'm very interested to see how the whole Vince thing plays out. So it's of course this whether or not this stuff is actually true and all that kind of stuff. This could also just be like this a big work to get Vince to retire because he can't retire and step down in a normal way. So maybe this is all like one last kayfabe.
Man, that'd be a really extensive thing. Oh, there's even I forgot about this. There's even some kind of insider trading allegations that are somehow involved in this too. Yeah, because apparently it was right before the news came out that like something like 2.15 million shares got sold or somehow, and yeah, it's there's all kinds of stuff. Names got named in that, but I don't even know. I don't even want to go there because I don't even know all the details on that. But I just know that was been talked about. But
Oh my gosh.
yeah,
Oh man, exciting times right now. I mean,
right.
over like in anything else that's not WWE, we've got Forbidden Door coming up here. We've got the New Japan and AEW crossing over and whatnot. And,
Oh gosh,
we've
that's
got
gonna
some
be
great dream matches coming up there. I mean, so things are going great over in the Indies.
Yeah.
Still waiting to see if the whole MJF thing is for real or not, or if he's actually gone from the company, or if this is all just a very elaborate scheme.
Yeah, Sean Ross Sapp, one of his tweets today was, MJF was 6 controversies ago. That's old news.
It really was. Yeah. If the MJF thing is actually a work, they kind of need to pull the trigger on that because it's getting buried by some other good stuff.
Right. It really is.
Oh, man. All right. So let's show off some new comics today here. So
let me see what you got.
Yeah,
because what you get is what I get. So.
That was a good distraction today. So, very heavy Marvel week for me. So got I think I got like about a dozen books this week here, but the 7 I definitely want to point out. First off, big number 1 here, new Captain America series, Sentinel of Liberty. Of course, this is the second of the Captain Americas because we've got the Captain America symbol of truth or something like that. Basically, Sam Wilson has his book, and so Steve's book has come out. And apparently there is a secret about the Shield that Steve was not aware of. There's some sort of plot going on, and I don't know, a very intricate kind of a little national treasure kind of thing going on here. But yeah, some kind of secret to the Shield going on. And a bit of a revival of a classic World War II hero that we haven't seen in a long time. So if you're up on your World War II superheroes, this one will be very familiar when you see him. But yeah, it's a great callback. So
the robot Human Torch.
No, it's not Human Torch because we've seen Torch recently. He's been like an Iron Man and kind of not recently. He's been an Iron Man, but no, actually he has been. Yeah, sorry, yeah, Torch has been recently an Iron Man. So no, this is one we haven't seen probably since the war. Okay. So. Yeah, but if you're World War II guys, he's well known. I won't spoil it, but a great number 1, very good start. And Bucky is involved in Steve's book, so he's in there. So, but yeah, some good stuff there. New issue Iron Man number 20. Tony popped the question to Miss Patsy Walker Hellcat. Does she say yes? Does she say no? They've had a very interesting, turbulent relationship in 20 issues right now. So Patsy's done a lot to kind of help Tony with his recent lack of dependency on technology, gaining the power cosmic, losing the power cosmic, and then having to go to rehab for a morphine addiction because pretty much like every bone in his body was broken. So he's had some rough times recently, especially since he's kind of like, he's kind of staying away from tech right now after the whole events of the 2020 event that he had. So anyway, good issue there. But does Hellcat say yes?
Interesting.
Yeah. Next issue of Fantastic Four here, still going on in the Reckoning War. This has just been a fantastic, no pun intended, mini-series or event series. It's just, if you're old school Fantastic Four, you like your big cosmic events with, everybody involved in it, and I do mean everybody, go no further. We're getting close to the end of it. This is issue 44. I think it wraps up in 45 next month, and I think Dan Slott's run on Fantastic Four ends with this Reckoning War thing. He's been building this up since like the beginning of his run. So, but I've been kind of off and on that one. But yeah, it's just been boatloads of old school fun.
I've enjoyed everything Dan Slott's written just about that I've read. So it wouldn't surprise me that this is good too. Especially with the Fantastic Four. I think that I felt like they haven't really had like an iconic run in a while.
Yeah, I didn't care much for his Iron Man run. I really wanted to like it. I mean, his Spider-Man run is iconic. But I wasn't as big a fan of his Iron Man run, but his Fantastic Four run's been very good. The whole plot of this one is that basically the Reckoning are a alien race that basically the Watchers, when they initially had no trouble with interfering with other civilizations, they essentially supplied a primitive civilization with technology, and they turned that into basically becoming like warlords. And so they are like, okay, well, they did the wrong thing, and so we're never interfering ever again. And so basically this group was the reason. And so the Reckoning have kind of regained some power and kind of regained some stature in the universe, and are basically coming for the Watchers and anything that stands in their way. It's been some big stuff there. Like they've hinted around that Reed may not survive this, that Ben Grimm may not survive this. This has been some big stuff going on. Johnny's power is kind of out of control at this point, where he essentially has to wear a containment suit because his flame is so hot and out of control that if he is without the suit, he kind of like burns like the sun. Yeah, so his powers got amplified a bit in a previous event. So he's like, Sue's the only one right now who's not having any problems with her abilities or the threat of death or anything like that, at least immediately, But yeah, so the other three of the Fantastic Four are not having good days right now. And that's a really good tie-in, because if you remember in the late 80s, early 90s, there was a wacky little run of 3 issues in the Fantastic Four. Walt Simonson did the art, did the writing for it, and Art Adams did the art for this one. And I'm talking about the new Fantastic Four, composed of Wolverine, Ghost Rider, the Gray Hulk, and Spider-Man. Now,
I do remember that run, yes.
There is a new miniseries coming up bringing these guys back. That starts next week.
That is awesome.
Being the lovely gents they are, has released a Marvel Tales issue combining all 3 of those issues in that run for a mere $7.99. So in one volume, you get all 3 of those Fantastic Four issues, which, let me tell you, are not cheap when you find them in the open market.
I will need to get that issue, because that is amazing.
So if you're not familiar with this particular iterance of the Fantastic Four, this can catch you up. And then for next week, you get to read the first. I think it's a 5-part series. But yeah, it's the old gang's back together again. I don't know if they're heading back to Monster Isle for anything. But yeah, I can't wait.
That's awesome. I love team-up books where the team is just completely mismatched. And this is the perfect example of that.
I mean, it's like Wolverine and Ghost Rider have teamed up before. Hulk and Spider-Man have teamed up before. Hulk and Wolverine have even teamed up before. Even Wolverine and Spider-Man. But then, like, Ghost Rider just kind of like is the turd in the punch bowl.
Right, yeah.
He just doesn't belong, It's like, yeah.
Now, is the new series is coming up? Is it going to be like because I believe that was the Dan Ketch Ghost Rider in that series, wasn't it? Okay, yeah. So is it going to be?
I think this one might be the Johnny Blaze Ghost Rider, because right now Dan Ketch isn't even a writer, right?
Okay, yeah.
He's still alive and still around the Marvel Universe, but he's in a completely different persona. He's not even a Ghost Rider. So the only writers you've got right now are Johnny. Robbie Reyes is still running around, and then of course you've got Kushala, who's basically the spirit writer, but she's she Native American or anyway, she's another writer, but she's not from the States. So anyway, she's different country, different culture, and everything like that. But she's a writer. She's frankly a lot more powerful than Johnny. She's kind of got much more of a grasp of her powers than any of the American Ghost Riders ever had. So, so she's got a series coming up. Is it the New Defenders series coming up? She's coming up pretty soon here. Oh no, that's not it. There's another. It's a new Midnight Suns series. That's what it is. New Midnight Suns series. But now she's a part of that. So there you go. Because you can't do Midnight Suns without a writer being there somewhere.
That is true.
All right. One book I've got from DC this week, but this is an awesome one. Second issue of Jurassic League.
Nice.
This has just been absolute fun. It's the Justice League reimagined as prehistoric dinosaurs. So far, we have met Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, Reverse Flash, Bizarro, Gigantor, Joker, and I think that's it. But yeah, so we haven't met entirely all of the Justice League just yet, but this issue finally unites the Trinity for the first time. So, but
nice.
Yeah, it is awesome. Phil Kennedy, Daniel Warren Johnson is the creative on that one, and I just love his stuff. So yeah, just fantastic. Very Kirby-esque, but just a lot of fun.
Right.
And speaking of old Daniel, from Image, first issue, and you would love this one here. Do a power bomb.
Nice.
So the main character, basically, her mother was one of the greatest wrestlers in Japan. She was the world. See, the thing is, Daniel was not a wrestling fan, and then he kind of became one by accident. And how he became one is he stumbled upon New Japan. That's his entry into wrestling, was New Japan Pro Wrestling. And if you're a wrestling fan, you know what I'm talking about, going, okay.
Yeah.
So this book is heavily influenced by Japanese wrestling. But it's interesting because basically, of course, where you start off the book is the world, the woman who's the greatest world champion, the greatest world heavyweight champion. Like, she fights the men. Kind of that sort of world heavyweight champion.
Okay.
But anyway, then basically the book kind of jumps in ahead of time, and you're now following the daughter, and she's basically starting out, and she could basically, a daughter trying to, basically follow in the footsteps of the greatest wrestler of all time. So
now, is it a wrestling comic in like where it treats kayfabe as real, or is it like a wrestling comic like that Ringside series from Image where it was like wrestling was just it wanted to be a wrestling comic, but it was a crime comic instead?
Well, there is a bit of a kind of story that's going on in basically, in the actual, aside from the actual, wrestling story, there is another story kind of going on in the book. But I think this actually is trying to be a wrestling book. Like, I haven't seen too much like behind the scenes of what's going on, but like there was like a couple locker room scenes and whatnot. So, so it is kind of going, in that sort of realm. But there is basically, an accident happens in the ring in the past, and then we jump to the present day and kind of, what happens beyond that.
Yeah.
So,
that's what I love about wrestling comic, like that Boom, or the series from Boom a couple of years ago with WWE, where they just treated everything like it was real, and like you'd have like Dean Ambrose and Sasha Banks like riding through Suplex City and trying to run away from Brock Lesnar kind of stuff. Yeah.
Johnny's backing me up on Do a Powerbomb. He's saying it's awesome. So yeah.
Nice.
There's been some good ones. I talked about Crimson Cage, the AWA United put out. That was basically like 70s era territory kind of wrestling mixed in with elements of Macbeth.
Okay.
And that was a 5-issue series on that one. The trade should be out, I think, next week. So highly recommend that one too. That was a really good one.
We'll check that
and that
out.
was totally like behind the scenes of wrestling, how the guys are putting it together. And also there's a story of kind of like the character I kind of equated him to, if you remember, like Tommy Rich, where like this guy like should have been the world heavyweight champion, but just couldn't get out of the South.
Yeah.
We had success in the small pond, but couldn't get success in the big pond.
Gotcha.
So, our buddy Formal Foundation saying hello. Good to see you.
Hello. Good to have you.
And one last book, the G.I. Joe Saturday Morning Adventures here. This is the last issue. That was a 4-issue series. That was just a boatload of fun.
That's awesome.
The plot is Cobra Commander finds Aladdin's lamp, rubs it, has the genie come out. Cobra Commander's got 3 wishes.
Of course.
And by the end of the book, the genie doesn't like Cobra Commander. And so he's like, you know what? Basically, he pulls a bit of a Secret Wars. He's like, let's set G.I. Joe on this side of the board. Let's set Cobra on this side of the board. Here's all your weapons and fight.
That is amazing.
That's
I need to take that serious.
issue 3 ends, and then issue 4 is the resolution, all that stuff. But it's a lot of fun. And the cool thing too is each issue ends with a knowing is half the battle PSA. The best one though, issue 3, Snake Eyes finally gets to do a knowing is half the battle PSA. And how do you ask, does a guy who's classically mute do a PSA?
That was my next question. Yes.
You're going to have to read the book.
Okay, that's fair. Yeah.
Suffice to say, probably one of the funniest things in comics in a while. It's because all of them are like, they're not quite the complete mocking, body massage, PSAs and kind of stuff like that. The weird mocking, G.I. Joe ones that somebody did. It's not completely making fun of it, but there's a little fun poking in all of these. So
okay, all right,
yeah. So,
I'm down for that.
Yeah, some weird stuff there, but yeah, it kind of like the first issue started off a little slow, but then issue 2 picked up, and then by issue 3, I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm all in. So it was, like I said, it was a lot of fun. Yeah. But at first, it was kind of like I had to kind of really get back into the Saturday morning realm, like, okay, because I've been reading the Larry Hama G.I. Joe Real American Hero stuff right now. It's like that's all serious, Joe.
Right? Yeah, it's very grounded, for what it is, and yeah.
So I've been, so I've been out of the realm of the cartoon G.I. Joe, which, okay, the comic book was not quite made for children.
No.
It was marketed to children, but it wasn't. It dealt with some adult issues in there, and then the cartoon,
like Cold Slither and the Viper, weren't coming in the comic. They were in the cartoon.
Reunion, I really did.
Oh, yeah, I mean, yeah, that would be great.
They're just a band of vipers playing a tune.
Yeah.
All right. Before we get into the 50-cent box hunt here, I do want to share a word from our sponsor here, Comic Books for Kids. So we'll be right back right after this.
Comic Books for Kids provides comic books to kids in hospitals and cancer centers across the U.S. It's a place where we can all work together to make sure every child has a comic book. 100% of all proceeds go towards the kids. It's about making a difference, and while they're in the hospital, allowing them to fly like a superhero, battle dragons, or rescue teddy bears. We are in every state in the country and now support over 160 hospitals. Every month, we add more.
Visit cb4k.org.
And we're back.
All right.
We did have an interesting question here from Formal Foundation. I took a little time to read this here. So we can address this topic here. It's completely off our topic here. But they ask, we get a return ticket for time travel to a single destination, single date time. Where do you go? What do you change in order to change the most about the modern world? Well, actually, I wouldn't want to change anything about the modern world because that's against the laws of time travel. So I would not interfere. But having said that, probably first place I would want to go, I would say June, New York City, 1962.
Why is that?
Well, June of 62 was when the first issue of Fantastic Four was released. So, being around for the birth of Marvel Comics and getting a hold of that at a local newsstand somewhere would be pretty awesome.
For a dime?
Yeah. Bringing home a mint copy of Fantastic Four #1 that I only paid a dime for. I will show it to my friends, but I would not sell it or anything like that. It would just be something I would like, hey, here it is.
Yeah.
And I'm not that big of a Fantastic Four fan, but just being around for the birth of Marvel, that's
that's a pretty big deal. That'd be yeah. Gosh, though, in order to change it, yeah, I don't know if I would change anything either, because I'm kind of digging, for the most part, the world as it is now. It's, you can say like, you'd stop the Kennedy assassination and who knows what would have happened. But
Mhm.
Man, that's a tough one, and that is like, yeah, I don't know. I don't really have an answer for that right now, just because it's too much of a think piece.
You know, it is a good question though. Formal Foundation will give you that one. So.
Yeah. It not that, not that it's a bad question at all. It's just that I'm not smart enough to come up with something off the top of my head. Like,
What you like how I like related back to comic books?
yeah. I mean, I appreciate it. Yeah.
Yeah, and we have a little visitor here. This is Carol Ann.
Hi, Carol Ann.
She was clawing at my legs and wanted to say hi. So
she wanted to be the third. She wanted to discuss comics too.
That's right. She wanted to be on the show. All right. So last weekend we went to The Great Escape, and had the 50-cent sidewalk sale.
Indeed.
So we found ourselves some good stuff.
Yeah, we went through every box they had out there.
Yeah, they had many long boxes out there. And of course, it was cool because we got there early, but like people who got there late, they didn't miss out because they just kept replenishing the long boxes. Like when one would start getting lean, they'd bring some out and start restocking. So I mean, they have tons of stuff they were going for.
Yeah. And it wasn't just junk either. It wasn't just fodder. I mean, there were legit good books in there. Like I pulled out far more than I ended up actually buying, but they had or Gotham by Midnight, the whole series plus the annual you could have got for 50 cents a pop. That we saw a bunch of Hellblazer issues that were, back stuff. Some of the stuff that I got, 10 years ago, you would have paid $25 for the first issue of, but it's a little different now, but that's not why we got it. We got it because of 50 cents. It was cool, but yeah. But,
all right, so you got a lot more than I did. So why don't you go first and show off what you got?
All right. Well, first of all,
so you get to go first.
Well, first of all, and this was a funny story too, because one of the series that I'll get into in a minute, they actually had 2 issues in one bag. So I was trying to be like Mr. Nice Guy and let them know that it's like, oh, there's 2 issues in that, charge me $1 for that. Not realizing that, the Hall of Classic X-Men that I got was a bunch of doubles in the same bags as well, which is, I'm not complaining about, but I got a decent little chunk here, multiple issues of it. So,
that's so funny because literally like today I was like sorting through like a lot of X-Men stuff, restocking our, back stock. And there was a lot of the collections, like people would buy like 2 copies of the same issue and then bag them in the same bag. And so, I went through a lot of that stuff today. So apparently that's a common practice somewhere.
Yeah, that is interesting. But it's weird that they would do that on a series like Classic X-Men, which is just reprints anyway. But but I like that series just because they add a little more to it, and it's fun to get some of those good X-Men issues, how they were back in the day.
And some of those covers are awesome too.
Oh yeah, and I love it. They've redone some of the covers and added a little extra story bits and pinups and everything. It's like it's a great way to experience Classic X-Men for cheap.
No kidding.
Yeah. And then the next set I got was I was actually pretty pleased about that because I used to have this was the first series that I collected as it came out as a kid. I had to get forward or get advances on my allowance to get it and everything. Yeah. But DC's Zero Hour, The Crisis in Time 4-0. Yeah, and it ran backwards at the time, so it was 4, 3, 2, and nothing because the timeline was all borked. And, it's not considered the greatest crossover in DC history, but it was my first that I was there for, that, and so it's got a special place to me. And, I was pretty happy to get that, for a song. And then another set that I was very happy that got me back into collecting comics at the time that I got for 50 cents a pop, Identity Crisis 1 through 7.
Oh, love that one.
Yeah, this is written by Brad Meltzer, and it's a murder mystery. Ralph Dibny's wife gets murdered, and they have to solve it. And there's some stuff that just shows you some sides of the Justice League that you never would have expected. It's an incredible series. It's totally worth it.
And for a Crisis, I mean, like at the time, it was a little controversial when it first came out. But as a Crisis book goes, it's not like a big like world-ending, multiple things. It's a much smaller story, but it had a huge impact on the relationship the League had with each other afterwards.
Yeah, totally changed the dynamic of how how the group functioned and some of the ramifications. And then there was other stuff too, like the third issue where the Justice League takes on Deathstroke, and Deathstroke just decimates him. And it was, it's a really good series. If you haven't checked it out, definitely go.
Definitely a lot of fun.
Yeah. Another one. This is a little blast from the past. It was not a 50-cent book, but a discounted book, nonetheless. And another one from whenever I was a kid, the Death of Superman trade that's got all 7 issues in it from the whole thing. I saved up my allowance for this one and had to get it. And I remember devouring it the night that I got it, and it was yeah.
That was a big event. I mean, it was one of those, like, they were reporting on the news that Superman died or whatnot. Like, he's gonna come back.
Yeah, he's gonna come back. We all know he's gonna come back, but it was a big deal at the time because they leaned into it hard.
They really did,
yeah. But it was a fun series, and it still kind of stands up, with the artwork and everything with it.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
Yeah, and then this next series is I had the trades for this series, except for the first one, which is astronomically expensive. But finding the single issues was great. And it's Madman, Atomic Comics 1 through 11 by Mike Allred. Mike Allred is one of my favorite artists in comics. If I could live in a world drawn by one particular artist, it would be him, just because it's like I dig the pop art, I dig the weird. It's this series gets really kind of bonkers because it goes into like a bunch of existential stuff with religion and all that, but it's still fun with Madman. And then of course going along the same thing, it's Superman Madman Hullabaloo 1 through 3.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, that's all collected in the nice thing. So this actually completes my Madman set. Actually, I've got everything for the character, so I was pretty pleased whenever I realized that. But
far out.
Yeah.
Well, being an Allred fan, that Excellent came back, right?
Yes. Yeah. I need to start picking that up.
Yeah. I think only the first issue's out right now. I think maybe 2, but yeah, it's just came back. So
nice. Oh, and one last thing for my 50-cent runs, and I pick these up whenever I can just to get a complete run because it's interesting to me. Cerebus the Aardvark. It's one of my. Yeah, it's one of my favorite series, and it's like I love the art, I love the story along with it. What's interesting to me too is that the individual issues, the writer and artist Dave Sim, you watch him have a mental breakdown from like as issues 1 it goes from 1 to 300, and the letter section, like he gets like really controversial with some of his stuff, but it's a very interesting. As a whole, the series is a very unique piece of art, and on one hand it's a graphic story, the other hand it's the deterioration of a mind. And it's, it definitely worth checking out if you can get past some of the controversial opinions that, Dave Sim has. But yeah, that was my treasures from the weekend. I got that Aquaman book that the
Andromeda,
the Andromeda one and the Rogues book that you suggested, but we showed them last week. But that was my cheap haul stuff.
You can't get any more like classic indie than Madman and Cerebus. I mean,
right, yeah, and they had all kinds of stuff in there too. It's like
you should pick up some flaming carrot to go along with it and concrete.
Yeah, there you go, milk and cheese.
Oh God, I had a hardcore milk and cheese phase.
Yeah.
Yeah, where I was just like buying everything I could find of milk. And the sad thing about milk and cheese, like there were like 4 books, and they kept reprinting those same 4 books.
Yeah,
I got caught a couple times, and then I finally figured it out. Like, okay, you're giving me a new cover and saying it's a new collection. It's the same stories,
right? Yeah.
Do things. I digress.
Yeah.
All right. So first off, as you had pointed out, there was like some other discounted stuff inside the store that wasn't part of there. So since I'm kind of refreshing my collections that I've completed with like giving some better quality issues, I found a Captain America 253.
Nice.
I always love this cover here. Because basically, you're going after old Baron Blood, classic World War II villain there. Let's see here. Picked up a couple Thors here, 213. Very nice copy of that.
I was going to say, that's a sweet looking copy of that.
Yeah, I like the whites are like a really white and everything. So,
right.
It was very nice copy. And also a copy of 222.
Ooh.
Some Thor and Herc action here. Fighting.
Yeah. I love those covers from that era too. They're just like there's just something about them that just pops. Like
it just screams comic book.
right?
You know,
Yeah,
I know the style has changed and stuff like that, but it just like to me that just I'm with you, man. Just like that just says comic book to me.
right.
Yeah. So I have not gotten to these series before. I've always heard good things about them, but I managed to pick up some random issues, a couple Jeff Lemire books here. Gideon Falls. I'm shocked that I missed a Lemire Andrea Sorrentino book, but I did. But apparently this is one that was always like very close to the heart of Jeff. Like he always like talks very fondly about Gideon Falls.
I've heard a lot of good things about it.
So I'm curious about it. I'm going to check that one out. Another Lemire series I'm surprised I never got into, but Black Hammer.
That was good.
The second series. After they did the first 6 issues, this was like the next storyline run because they've done a couple offshoots. Like they right now, Black Hammer Reborn's going on right now.
Yeah, I thought there was another one that had just come out, but no, that original trade, I loved it. You know, the original series, I thought it was great.
So like I said, I've never gotten to those. I was like, well, I'll check out some random issues, see what I think, and then go back and check out the trades or something like that. Being a big Punisher fan, I love me some Stephen Grant, and so found the first issue of Stephen Grant Enemy for Dark Horse.
Oh, nice.
Classic 90s stuff there. Look at this dude.
Kind
of it looks like Bucky and Nomad,
man. That just kicks you in the stomach and says Merca. There's something like people want to rag on some of that 90s stuff, though. I love it just because, it's just I grew up with it. It's fun. It's, it's what comics are to me. Like, just rampant fun and excess. And but
let's see. Some cool DC stuff I picked up here. First issue of a more recent Sergeant Rock series that Joe Kubert did.
Nice.
A classic reprint. Couldn't pass this one up here.
First appearance of the Justice League.
The Justice League right there. Brave and the Bold. Let's see. Picked up a World's Finest. This one just had a great looking cover.
Oh, nice. I love picking up
big anniversary issue too. So it was like back covers, creepers, in this one, and stuff. Let's see. Picked up. I actually did read this series because I loved both He-Man and Dad and Abnett. But I picked up 3 issues of the He-Man Attorney War series that Abnett did, which was just this is some great He-Man writing. I love Dan Abnett's run on Guardians of the Galaxy. So just anything he does sci-fi, I'm there for it.
Right.
Picked up a Dan Jurgens Flash Gordon's issue.
Oh, cool. That's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember this series. I never got to read the full, all of it, but yeah, pick that one up. This was interesting. Of course, I picked it up just because, of the cover and everything like that. But I have been having trouble finding who is the creative team on this. Obviously, that's got to be Sam Keith is the art.
Yeah, that's definitely Sam Keith on the cover.
Yeah, and it looks like it's not Sam Keith in the interior art.
No, because it's not. Yeah, but I can't really tell.
I've read through this whole thing, and there's no like this was a one shot called Servants of the Dead, a team up of Ghost Rider and Cable.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I was like, I'm gonna have to look it up online. I was like, inside the book, there is no credits whatsoever for the creative team on this.
That's weird. Maybe it's like an Alan Smithy kind of thing.
I don't know. But I've never seen it before, so I was like, that's cool.
Yeah.
And then something else I'd never seen before. One of my favorite. It never became a big hit, but it was a 5-issue series in the '90s that Image put out called Strike Back, and it was just like this very wacky superhero team kind of stuff like that. Like the lead guy had like a scarf that changed shape. Like it could be like ladders and weapons or a whip to grab somebody or something. It could do all sorts of things like that. But his girlfriend, who happened to be like a member of royalty, gets kidnapped by some mercenaries, and so they go off to find her and all that kind of stuff, right?
Right.
So big adventure, all sort of thing like that. Well, originally the series came out under the Malibu banner or Bravo Comics, whichever one there.
Right.
Yeah, and so I found the original issues from the Malibu series.
Wow, that is awesome.
Now, here's the fun thing. So the first issue, as you can see, this was originally supposed to be 1 of 6, right?
Right.
Okay, then we get to issue 2. 2
of 4. Huh.
How does that happen? We've now lost 2 issues? And then we get to 3 of 4.
Mm-hmm.
And then, if you know your 90s comic book history, Malibu Comics goes bye-bye. So we don't get the last issue. But Image Comics does buy Malibu and all the properties on there and decides we're going to re-release the first 3 issues with different covers and then complete the series with the final 2 issues. So what was a 6-issue series that became a 4-issue series, and the company folded now and was bought by somebody else and re-released it as a 5-issue series.
Not confusing at all.
Did you get all that?
Yeah, there'll be a test.
But yeah, I don't even think they even put a trade out, but you can still find the issues fairly. I mean, they're cheap too. That's the thing. The Image series. I mean, you can't swing a dead cat without hitting a bunch of cheap Image comics from a certain time of the 90s because they just overprinted them so much.
Yeah.
Even the books that didn't sell, they overprinted them so much. So,
yeah, let me tell you, every time that I'm trying to find Savage Dragon back issues, you can find the first 20 of them, no problem whatsoever. After that, it's a crapshoot.
Oh, yeah. Look, tell that to a Spawn fan looking for any issue beyond 200.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like that 200 up until like people started caring about Spawn again right before, like when you got like 10 issues before you get 300. So, but like 201 to 289 is some dark territory for Spawn fans because you can't find those books, and the people who do have them are not getting rid of them.
Yeah, they are skyrocketing.
Yeah. Yes, the thing is, those books don't go. Until those are like reprinted in trades, which they haven't got that far yet, but they are reprinting Spawn issues into large omnibus trades. But yeah, they haven't got that far yet. But when they do, maybe those issues will come down a little bit. But and this is so weird. Like nothing particularly important happens in them, but the print run was so small, and it's a book that's still running. So there you go.
Right. Yeah, it wasn't anything gimmicky or anything. It was just supply and demand at the time.
Yeah. It's like me trying to find, issue 8 and 10 of the old WCW Marvel series because it was a book that no one cared about. They only ran 12 issues. And the last, like you could find like the first 5 issues really easy, but then like 6 through 12, they get more and more expensive. So like I could probably find a copy of 8 and 10 if I wanted to pay $200 for these books.
Yeah, no.
They're not worth $200, folks. Let me tell you. They're fun. If you like your like early 90s WCW, it was basically the time when like the one guy was running the company that Flair didn't like, that basically didn't know anything about wrestling and had like stupid ideas like
Jim Herd.
And what's that?
Jim Herd.
Yeah, Jim Herd. Yeah. It was that like when Rick Rude was champion for a little bit, he and Sting were feuding and stuff like that. It was that era of WCW. So they just literally captured it in a little 12-issue time capsule. So it's kind of fun.
Nice.
So yeah. Well, I think that about does it for all of our comic haul here.
Yeah, I was going to say I probably got to jump off here, but
you got some puppy babies you got to take care of. So I'm going to talk to folks real quick about some streaming stuff. I'm going to let you go, sir. So you have yourself a wonderful evening. Thank you for coming out.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me. Love to be in here as always. Can't wait to do it again. But yeah.
You're the junior fanatic. We got to have you on, man.
All right. But
well, I will see you in a little bit when we get to have our text party talking about Rampage. So
definitely. I'll see you then, brother.
See you, brother. Later. All right. So real quick before I wrap up here, a couple streaming opinions on stuff here because I've got to catch up a little bit on stuff. Caught up on Kenobi. Absolutely am loving Kenobi, especially episode 5. If you're a deep Star Wars fan, it is such a big payoff. Very, very good episode. Highly recommend this series. I'm enjoying the Ms. Marvel show so far. I mean, they've 2 episodes in right now. I think they've got the character down, her world, who she is, her appreciation for, basically she's like a big super fan for the Avengers, especially Captain Marvel. Really, the only thing they changed is her power set, or kind of where her powers come from. But aside from that, I mean, the coming of age of story for her, the conflicts of her culture versus what she wants to do with her life, and then embracing being a superhero, and versus hiding it, and all that sort of stuff. So they get everything down from Ms. Marvel. So yeah, really enjoying that show so far. I'm enjoying The Boys thoroughly. Next week's episode is the Hero-gasm episode. If you've read the book, I can't believe they're getting to this episode. I am going to be very curious they've gotten away with a lot on this show. I'm talking to you, episode 1 of this season. But the safest way I can tell you about what happens in the Hero-gasm storyline in The Boys is that it is a weekend getaway for all superpowered individuals, whether you are considered a hero or a villain. It's a weekend getaway island destination out in international waters where anything goes. You can do all the drugs you want, all the drink all the booze, have all the crazy sex you want, anything goes, and it's just a romp, blow off some steam for all the superheroes. So people are specifically hired for this weekend to take care of every need they have. I mean, it's crazy stuff that goes on. And because this is somewhat of a family show, I can't go into great detail about what that is, but let me tell you, it's very tawdry, not safe for children whatsoever. So if they can get away with a tenth of what happens, I would be shocked. But yeah, I'm going to be very surprised to see what happens this episode. Eddie's Fight Master, good to see you, sir. He's backing me up on this. It is a crazy show. And I mean, this season has been really amped it up. It's been a very gory season. Yeah, I'm telling you, episode 6 coming up next week, titled Hero-gasm. I can't believe they got this far, but yeah, we'll see how it's going to play out there. Let's see. I'm not all the way finished on Stranger Things yet because my wife and I are watching it. We're kind of taking our time with it, so we're only on episode 5 right now. But so far, really digging this. Very much a horror movie kind of theme this season. I mean, it's been very sci-fi and a lot of nostalgia for the past 3 seasons, but this one is full on Nightmare on Elm Street. So much so that we actually had a visitor from Mr. Robert Englund. So very cool to see him in a different role, a different performance. So yeah, really enjoyed that. Of course, we got July 1st. We get the other half of this final. I guess this is the final season for at least this cast. So yeah, looking forward to that all wrapping up. But yeah, so very much enjoying so far. Let's see what else. Completely non-geek stuff though. If you're a comedy fan, the Kids in the Hall revival that's on Amazon, perfect. Absolutely perfect. I'm a huge Kids in the Hall fan, and I was a little concerned with I knew they could kind of get away with a lot of the same comedy they did, in the 90s show, because basically they dealt a lot with gender issues and a lot of comedy was kind of ahead of its time. It was very real and subversive and kind of punk, in the 90s, but how they kind of got away with, a lot of it was, through basically the way they presented it, a very kind of a Monty Python kind of feel to it. But yeah, this new revival on Amazon Prime, it is just note perfect. It's like they haven't missed a beat. There's all kinds of just, bringing back characters that you knew from the show, doing new stuff. It's just perfect. Absolutely perfect. So also, if you're a big Kids in the Hall fan, there is a 2-part documentary on Amazon Prime that gets the whole story of the kids, how they formed, where they are now, all that good stuff. So also recommend checking that out as well. Yeah, so all kinds of good stuff here. Let's see, trying to think, is there anything else I've been, let's see, So yeah, I think that's about it. Because I don't have Paramount, so I'm not watching any of the Star Trek stuff, and I really need to get Hulu because I think there is something on Hulu that's coming up. There's a series coming up on Hulu that everybody's talking about now that I need to get. But I'm a big Predator fan, and that trailer for Prey looks awesome. I remember when the idea came, the movie was pitched, and the idea came out that basically it's going to be like, a Native American, in like early era was fighting a predator. I'm like, ooh, yeah, cool premise. I'm there. So but yeah, I'm looking forward to it. So I may have to get a Hulu subscription just to check that show out. So let's see here. Eddie's, let's see what you got to say here. Kids in the Hall is one of your favorites next to SNL in the 80s and 90s. Yes. So yeah, if you're a fan, Eddie, I highly recommend checking out the new show on Amazon. I think it's like 8 episodes. So yeah, highly recommend. Just the guys have not lost a beat. So yeah. Anyway, so well, I think that has all I've got for you all this week here. So thank you guys for all your comments and questions and everything else and participating. Always love having you guys out for the forum here. Get to chit chat all about geek stuff here. So you all have yourself a wonderful weekend. If you haven't gone out and see it, go see Jurassic Park. Go see Top Gun. Yeah. All kinds of good stuff coming out, later on this summer here. Thor, I'm looking at you, buddy. Anyway, so it is a good time to be a geek. So you all have yourselves a wonderful weekend, and I'll see you next time on the Fanatic Forum.